blast from the past and so exciting to see so many familiar names and faces on this Zoom call and also so many new names and faces on this call. So thank you all so much for having me. And this is so exciting. All of the incredible work that's happening, that's happened, that will happen. I got started with, yeah, so I got started with Center for Common Ground in 2020 when I was 16 years old, now 20. And first involved with Reclaim Our Vote and postcarding personally and getting other people in my local community to postcard as well. And from there, it turned into more phone banking, and then trying to get other young people across the country to get involved with Center for Common Ground's phone banking. And from there, the work that Center for Common Ground uh, did really has just ballooned and continued to balloon, to make millions of voter contacts in 2020, to do millions of voter contacts since then, and 18 million voter contacts for this cycle is just incredible to see. Um, and something that I think about with what we saw in 2020 and post 2020 was that when we win in November this time, as we won in November in 2020, we're going to see another flood of misinformation, of disinformation, and further efforts to restrict voting access, and disenfranchised, underserved, and underrepresented voters, particularly across the South. Um, and we need to be ready for that. And we will be ready for that because groups like Center for Common Grounds are there. Because in 2021, Center for Common Ground was there across state legislatures trying to push back against these anti-voter, voter suppression bills happening, and also pushing federally for voting rights legislation. Um, and so when that happens again, in later this year in 2025, Center for Common Ground will be there, which I think speaks to the need for year-round funding and year-round organizing, that we're going to do all of this work for the election, which needs to get funded. And there's also going to be a lot of work to do in 2025, both around voting rights and organizing communities, and continuing to prepare as well for elections that happen in Virginia and elsewhere, and even into the future. Um, I think one powerful moment that sticks with me from 2022, with Center for Common Ground was on this call with then um, then just a congressman and not full leader Jeffries, and a bunch of the local democracy center leaders, with Center for Common Ground. And these leaders from across the South in their local communities were speaking about issues that they were organizing on, issues with messaging of the larger Democratic Party and just larger like political landscape, and um, really just like speaking truth to power and making their voices heard. And I paused in that moment, just like as an observer, as a witness on the Zoom call, to one, see just the incredible network that Andrea had built of people doing just such impactful local level, rooted in community organizing and connecting that to the importance of registering to vote and turning out to vote. And then also taking that organizing powerhouse and bringing it to the people who have the power, elected official, well, the people who we put in power, elected officials. And in that moment, it was just such a I had to pinch myself of just like what incredible work Andrea and everyone part of Center for Common Ground has built up, and has continued to build. Um, but year-round change making and year-round organizing takes year-round funding. And so I see Josie's put in the chat the link to give. If you are able, please do give. This work that Center for Common Ground does is so incredibly impactful and important, and is needed now and will be needed in the future. And that work can only happen with the funding behind it to do it. So thank you all so much for being here, and so nice to see so many, to reconnect with so many familiar faces and names. And yeah, I'll turn it back over to Andrea.